Hello, everyone, and welcome to Magma Ragers episode 34. I have with me Pandemonia here, and we're back from a little break. I was away last week, so we missed a week, but we have lots of exciting news to recap now, and lots to talk about in what is kind of like a bit of a lull for Hearthstone in terms of content, at least. But we have actually got a patch. It's not quite a balanced patch this time, but it is actually kind of like a content patch. It's the Hallow's End Festival. Well, and with it comes Nemsy, the new Warlock hero. And Nemsy is acquired by attending a registered fireside gathering, so they need to
At a
be
tavern.
yeah they need to be registered as a tavern. Have their own logo and like little flag thingy in order to actually qualify. And attending an event, I believe it's any time from now. Basically, it was last week, I think, that it went live for when you could start earning it.
Yeah, it
Um,
went live this past week, and basically they haven't announced a sort of an end date. It's much like the Fireside card pack, basically, where they
mm,
announce the release, but then they haven't really ever said when they're going to stop it.
yeah. So for now, it seems like it will be indefinite. Your thoughts on Nemsy? I don't know if you've encountered many Nemsys on ladder yet, or
I've faced a few
you-
Nemsy ladder. I mean, I still, to me, she doesn't really feel like a warlock.
yeah,
So, like, it's still weird.
yeah.
I know, like, one thing though, so on a more technical but note though, her animation for card drawing feels super slow.
Oh,
So
really?
like it feels a lot more delayed than Gul'dan's, unless it's just the
Hmm.
animation or something. But like the first thing I noticed when facing it was when the person laughed tapped, it felt significantly longer,
Oh,
the animation.
okay.
So
I haven't played against many Nemsys yet, or anything. But I think it's always good that they are adding heroes, and I like the fact that they are adding a hero in this case that needs to be attained through actually attending fireside gatherings. Something I know we've spoke about a lot. Off air at least is the difficulty for innkeepers to really incentivize people to actually come to fireside gatherings. Hearthstone is
yeah,
very different in its culture and in how you access it compared to traditional TCGs, trading card games. And so it can be difficult to actually find a way to incentivize, players to come to firesides. And it's really good in that sense, which, is really helpful, especially in like smaller scenes like ours in South Africa. I know that the Nexus has started hosting firesides, and you
yeah,
guys had some pretty good attendance there. Do you want to give us just an overview of what happened there?
yeah. So there was, from what I've been told, there were 30 players. I was personally very surprised, especially since we made it very clear that you wouldn't actually be able to get an MC from it because it was basically because you have to you first have to hold an event
Hmm.
where you have three players before you get it. Although I don't know if
Yeah,
it
so
seems
so
that
just to clarify that, first you have to have hosted an event with three or more players before you become a registered tavern, and then
tavern,
only
yeah,
the taverns, when they host firesides, will actually give out an MC. So that's what you mean by that, yeah.
yes, but it looks like the authentication or the validation actually takes place potentially takes place simultaneously because there were a bunch of people who told me that near the end of the evening they unlocked Nemsy.
Hmm.
And I've heard that from several people where they went to firesides that weren't taverns, and then by the middle of the evening or end of the evening, they actually, the place had become a registered tavern. So it might be that the authentication happens, during the
Pretty
event.
quickly, yeah.
Yeah. So I know
That's
some
pretty
players
cool.
did already get it,
Yeah.
but yeah,
But so I mean, it's pretty good for the Nexus. They haven't really hosted many events before, but
yeah, that was their
now.
first one.
Yeah, well, obviously, as they weren't a registered tavern yet, but I know they've been interested in hosting events, and they are going to be hosting another one, I believe, which was, I think, meant to be the follow-up.
Yeah, so there's actually we're trying to organize quite a big. I'm working quite closely with them to organize this one, and basically it's gonna be this coming Saturday, the 28th of October,
Mm,
at the Nexus in Randburg, Johannesburg. For those of you who aren't sure, and it's a really cool place. I urge anyone in the area to come through. Entry's free, um, but it's a really nice venue. Anyone who's been to the Nexus for any nerdy activity will tell you whether it's board games or lands or
mm,
they have Xbox events. It's really great facilities. There's food. There's a nice restaurant there. Which is obviously, like quite important to me.
Yes, it is very important to you.
It's safe parking. So yeah, it's this Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning until 3. There's going to be like fun events if you want to come through. That we're having a tournament. Else, we're just going to have like fun Hearthstone things happening.
Yeah, and you'll be able to get your Nemsy hero. So
I'm
if
playing a Fireside Brawl.
yeah, and if that's important to you, then that's a really good reason to go. But I think overall it's just a really good reason to encourage people to go to their firesides, especially if it's their first firesides,
And build a
and
community.
yeah, so people can really experience what it's like when you're you know playing people in person and when you're actually playing people off ladder in a totally different environment, whether it be tournaments where the whole meta is really different when you have picks and bans, etc., or even just playing people casually where you can be like just play one-off games against people and their decks, and you can then speak to them afterwards, and not just be have them add you as a friend to be salty.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. Also, I think a lot of people. It's just introducing more people to show, hey, look, there's a community. There are other people in your region or area that play. And yeah, what I mean. I mean, like a lot of people I've met and become friends with have been through Hearthstone, through firesides, through events
Hmm.
where you just chat and you realize, oh, we have a lot in common. And you end up talking about Hearthstone until stupid hours of the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So overall, your thoughts on Nemsy and the idea of giving these kind of exclusive to Fireside kind of rewards for players?
I really like the concept. I mean, it's a really good idea in terms of I like them trying to promote fireside gatherings. The only worry I sort of have, going forward is it's going to be sort of almost like a drug addiction problem. It's going to be no, it's going to be the case of you've got all these people, you get them to come to the first one because you're offering Nemsy. But now the real question is, especially for let's say innkeepers, is going to be how are you going to get them coming back? Because
Mm.
I mean, I don't foresee Blizzard regularly saying come to, go to a fireside and get this for free. They might have some sort of plans for that, but I don't foresee them, for the next few months, every month saying, okay, if you go to a fireside, to give you a new skin.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that is also what the Fireside Brawls are supposed to be about, right? So
Yeah,
now all these places are getting registered as taverns, and that means they have access to Fireside Brawls, which is like an alternative brawl every week, basically,
yeah,
or
or
every
every
month.
month,
Yeah.
and they're
So
quite cool. Yeah,
yeah, so if they add rewards into those, innately into that, that's one way. But obviously, it's
yeah,
not going to be something as big as like a hero every time, right?
yeah,
So it's very difficult for for Blizzard to kind of follow up. So yeah, I think it's really important from how I look at it is that the innkeepers, the people organizing these events, they need to somehow make it a fun and enjoyable enough event beyond just going there and getting a hero portrait.
skin. Yeah,
If that's all the event's being hosted for, and that's all that's really happening, then that's not really going to end up being sustainable. And
yeah,
for scenes like ours in South Africa, where we have a relatively small scene, especially when it comes to attending firesides, it's really important that the events become sustainable. We've had periods like golden periods where we've had lots of firesides and people attending them, and tavern hero events, and tavern hero
and then we had a while when
qualifications,
there was
etc.
nothing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's really difficult to get that sustainability going for firesides, and that's where people going along and having fun, whether it be tavern brawls, whether it be getting help from other players, such as let's say
yeah,
yourself at the Nexus, or they can maybe ask you about like deck building. I mean, at Rush, I remember that's something we did quite a bit of, just speaking to some of the other players there, the players that maybe lost in their first few rounds of the Swiss, and then when you kind of help them, okay, no, you really shouldn't be putting these cards in your deck, just giving people that kind of like basic kind of tips and coaching that you can kind of do in person a little bit better than they're going to
yeah.
get just from, watching YouTube videos or watching streamers or anything like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I mean, it's quite an exciting time, I think, overall, for the social aspect of the game, Firesides. I really hope that, like, not just, the Nexus, but, all the venues in the country whole, we can turn this into something almost sort of a culture, much like Friday Night Magic has become an
Mm.
established thing in many places, where, Firesides, whether you host them once a month or however often, where it becomes a regular thing where people go, oh, okay, next Saturday is the last Saturday of the month, it's time to go. It becomes a culture
Yeah, yeah,
of people constantly going there repeatedly.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
that
yeah,
that would be really cool. Um, so there are some other things happening with the Hollows End Festival and this patch. One of which, or the main part of which, is changes to the arena for this Hollows End period. So what we have is we're going to be having dual arena classes. So you're going to be able to essentially have cards from two classes. You'll have the hero power from the first class you pick, I believe, and then you'll have cards from the second class as well offered to you. So that's going to be really interesting, seeing all uh, the weird combinations people can come up with.
So just a minor correction. It says when you start an arena, you choose a hero, then a hero power.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
this, so the
Oh, so
second
the
one
other
you
way around.
choose
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
is the hero power. The first one will be the hero skin.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically,
But
that's
then you'll
for
have
the
access to
both cards.
cards
Yeah,
from both those classes. Yeah, it's actually a little bit of like kind of important that you're picking the hero power second because hero power is actually so important in arena.
yeah.
Um,
And then the first one, kind of, you already know is like. Then it comes down to if you pick the first, you can't get the second time. So it's like you risk
yeah,
it kind of thing.
yeah. And I mean, we've seen these kind of things a little bit in Brawl before, where we've had the kind of dual class
Oh
crossover.
yeah, yeah.
You can have crazy shenanigans like prep fireball or something like that. And the
The
really
Run
silly
Arena
things that
is
weren't.
going to be silly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of good. The innovate nerf is kind of makes this a little bit more balanced because otherwise you'd very often want to pick druid for the ramp and especially for innovate. Whereas
Yeah.
now that's not quite as rewarding picking druid in particular.
I'm just really in my mind thinking of some of the silly things that, go on. I mean, like Priest and Mage all of a sudden, and you just draft all the Mind Blasts and Fireballs you can. I'm
Yeah,
just thinking, like, there's going to be some horribly cheesy ways of losing in this arena.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, or you can have that Kazakus Hunter deck that you've been waiting to play.
Yeah, exactly. Although they've done away with synergy picks now, so you're a lot less likely to get him, to get
Yeah,
Kazakhs.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That is a good point. Synergy picks are also being removed. That's the kind of one balance-ish kind
Really
of
good.
change for this patch. Uh, you know, Obviously affecting arena balance. We've spoken a bit about the synergy picks in previous episodes, especially when Gas was on, and I mean it's pretty good. Not many of the arena players really enjoyed the synergy picks, so definitely something that I think people are going to be happy about. And the other big thing that other sort of change that's coming to arena in terms of balance is vicious fledgling no longer being offered in arena. So obviously that can also avoid some of the sometimes snowbally scenarios where vicious fledgling goes unanswered and it feels like the game is just decided by that.
On turn three, especially. Like sometimes
Yeah,
they go turn three and you go, oh, I don't have an answer. Oh, I'm dead.
yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite important because having answers to cards like Vicious Fledglings is a lot less common in something like Arena versus in, let's say, Constructed, where if you know that lots of people are going to be playing Vicious Fledgling, you're going to um, you're going to mulligan harder for those Wraths or the Frostbolts. You're going to make sure you include them in your decks, and you can balance your things. You can play that 3-mana Fiery War Axe to deal with that Vicious Fledgling.
Yeah, exactly. You can. Whereas in arena, it's a lot harder, and even
Mm.
then, sometimes it's a tough call. Do you take the removal versus do you take a better minion, or sometimes it's quite difficult decisions.
Yeah, you're never gonna pick cards just so this is so I can kill Vicious Fledgling on 3.
Yeah,
Most of the time.
you're gonna ask yourself, is this generally better? Is it gonna be
Yes.
better in most cases?
Yeah, so I think that's also pretty positive. It's unfortunate when cards essentially just have to be removed from a format like this, but
Yeah,
ultimately I think if it makes the format much better, then I think everyone will be happy overall, or at
yeah, I
least
think it
certainly the
balances it out.
majority of the people that play Arena a lot. And um, alongside this Arena, or this Hallows End Festival, um, there's going to be free tickets for the Arena. Do you want
And
to
free
just
packs.
yeah? Do you want to just give players a little bit of run on how the tickets are going to work for the Hallows
Okay,
End Festival?
so should we just shall I start with going before even the
Yes,
whole
yes,
resetting of
yeah.
so even before this event on the 24th of October, so we currently recording this on the 23rd of October, but on the 24th of October they're basically resetting all your
Mm,
arena runs. What that means is any arena run you have in progress will automatically be retired, and you'll get the rewards corresponding to the number of wins, and you'll get a free arena ticket.
mm,
So obviously, actually, it's actually a good idea to actually start an arena, get to either 11 wins or 2 losses, and then just not play.
Yeah.
But then after that, what's going to happen is if you log on between tomorrow, the 24th of October, and the 30th of October, you're going to get a free Whispers of the Old Gods pack and a free arena ticket. And then the week afterwards, between October 31st and the 5th of November, if you log on, you will get a free Knights of the Frozen Throne pack and another arena ticket. Well, it's not 100% clear how, in terms of if these arena tickets stack up or like it sounds like they should, considering, if you might get a free one plus the other one. We haven't actually seen this before because previously they just awarded you one. You didn't get a ticket or anything. So maybe they might be changing the UI to accommodate, stockpiling of arena tickets,
Perhaps. Yeah, but I mean, talking about the arena tickets, it is quite important to note that, as you were saying, if you leave your arena on 11 wins or 2 losses, you will get the free ticket from that one run being retired, as well as the normal free one you would get. So that is the most beneficial way. Just to
So you basically
clarify.
get the rewards. So whatever rewards you get is basically for free.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I mean, just that's the advice we would give to
Yeah.
people that have arena runs at the moment. Maybe you start an arena run and you completely forgot about it, and you're at like 2-0. Well, you should play until either you get to 2 losses or 11 wins. So that's basically just before you would finish your arena run, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, so even though this was kind of like mentioned, it's actually mentioned quite briefly in the Blizzard article in almost like a side note. It's actually quite sort of a big thing because it's the first time they've done that. And it actually impacts, like, this is the first sort of reset they've done because there are still players somewhere, that actually have like, Curse and Naxxramas decks or, decks that have cards from Wild. So.
Or Vicious Fledglings.
Oh, Vicious, exactly.
For one,
And
like
almost,
that's even a more recent change, right?
exactly.
I mean, the forced retirement is going to basically affect all players, so nobody can be. I mean, storing up decks. I mean, that kind of happened with me even in the standard rotation. I don't play a lot of arena, so like a couple months after standard rotation, I still had essentially a wild decks in arena because I just hadn't been playing arena.
Yeah, some people it's because you forget it. Some people intentionally actually do it to try save it, to try and actually snipe it pro.
Yeah.
I've read quite a few articles where some guys literally save a Curse of Naxxramas deck just so they can take down Crip or, someone like it.
Yeah, yeah. With cards that they'll never really expect. So I think that's quite nice. The kind of the forced retirement is nice in that it's going to. Yeah, yeah. It's going to make sure that we don't really have weird scenarios like that where all of a sudden you're playing and then somebody plays a sludge belch and you're like, what? I think even for the non-serious players, like even for your casual players, that can also be very jarring. You can feel like you were cheated out of your game because they played cards they shouldn't have had access to. So that's pretty good. And obviously, I mean, nobody's complaining that they're getting a free ticket and the rewards from it anyway. So it's
so
a win
I think
for
this is a
everyone.
good compromise.
Yeah.
I think Blizzard. I think this is a good, a good move from Blizzard. The one thing that I think, we were chatting a bit before, I think they could have honestly highlighted it and made it a bit more like noticeable because, like I say, they've kind of nestled it as like a footnote at the bottom of the article in like small print. I think they really should have, broadcasted a bit bigger and made a bigger thing about to let people know. Oh, by the way, if you have any old arenas, you might want to either finish them or, be aware that you're not going to have them after a while.
Yeah, I think with all these kind of things, there's a certain amount that you can really get across to people, and I think the main focus for this Hallow Zen Festival has been Nemsy and the Fireside side of things, so that's kind of, I think, why they've focused on pushing that side of things maybe a little bit more than informing people the implications of the arena retirement scheme.
Yep.
Retirement annuity for arena decks. But yeah, we're also going to be getting skins for the heroes during Halloween or during this Hallow's End Festival, which are quite silly here. We can see, the Mummy Malfurion and the Sheriff Rexar and all those kind of things. Quite
it's just a little fun Blizzard likes to have at these events.
Yeah.
It's always it's actually quite nice. It adds a little more fun. As like a fun twist to things that people aren't usually used to.
Yeah. And it gives the cosplayers alternative outfits to dress up as when they want to cosplay Hearthstone heroes.
That's so
Never,
nice.
never forget the implementations of, the implications of cosmetics on cosplay. Anyway,
That's okay.
we're also getting some new card art, which looks like it's going to be for a Halloween themed brawl, based on the art that has been mined from the patch. It looks like it's definitely going to be some kind of new specific cards just for some kind of brawl. You can see as well with the chalkboards, so that's going to be quite interesting. Maybe one of them will even be an exclusive brawl to Firesides, although I imagine they probably should have announced that if that was going to be the case.
Well, they did announce there's going to be a unique tavern brawl. It is.
Oh,
It
did
is.
they? So there is
Uh,
is going to be
it is
a unique.
announced. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Well, it's a unique tavern brawl. Uh,
Yeah, a unique tavern brawl though. I meant
yeah, I'm
a
not sure if it's
Fireside
the.
brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be another way to encourage people, like a little bit like they had the Lich King Fireside
Oh, I'm so
brawl.
yeah. Still bleak. It's a headless horseman's favorite type. No, but there was a part where basically it said, oh, the tricky tavern brawl. It's a special Hallow in tavern brawl,
Oh,
but from the
okay.
sound of it, it's a tavern brawl, not a fireside brawl.
Yeah, yeah. But either way, we're definitely going to be getting a new Tavern Brawl, so that's quite nice. A lot of the other Tavern Brawls have kind of just been revamp or reusing old ones for a while. Like I mean, I don't really play a lot of Tavern Brawl. Usually just get my pack, but they felt like they've mostly just been, you know, rehashes of old ones with some maybe sometimes there's new cards involved from the new expansions and maybe changes things slightly. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's going to be good. Uh, but that's pretty much all the news from the patch, and the sort of majority of the news that we've had happening in the last 2 weeks, pretty much, as we obviously had a week's break. But there's also been quite a bit of esports action going on. There was the Hearthstone Summer Championships. That was the really big main event that happened last weekend, or not this previous weekend, the weekend before that. Uh, and for that, Surrender was crowned the champion for summer. The summer championships that were held in Los Angeles, and I think one of the surprising things to me as well is that they announced the world championships would be in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised to see them moving away from America. I just assumed the finals would always be in America, but it makes sense. They hadn't hosted any of the events, any of the championships so far in Europe, so this way they're covering the four major regions with their events, which is pretty cool. I think none of yeah, it was Bahamas, Shanghai, LA, and now Amsterdam for the Hearthstone World Championships. So that's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, this
Yeah.
year they're happening outside of BlizzCon as well, happening in January to help with the sort of rotations of expansions and whatnot. But yeah, so Surrender was the champion, and the other top four that qualified for the Hearthstone World Championships were Purple, Jason Zhao, and Orange. So, Orange, not too much of a surprise. I mean, a lot of these players are the ones we kind of highlighted in our who to pick as your choose your champion, beforehand. In the
Yeah.
end, I ended up going with Ouya because I liked his lineup. His lineup was like, yeah, but ultimately he didn't manage to make it, and Surrender would have been one of my choices had I not, though. So, drats.
Yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, I only got two packs because Pavel got knocked out by Orange. But
yeah.
like Pavel's lineup was also very similar to basically I think Orange's as well. So it was kind of like 50-50 as to who would win that one.
Yeah, whereas Ouya didn't even get out of his group. But
Yeah.
we at least saw the one Chinese player getting out of their group this time. Not a really good showing overall from the Chinese players again this
Yeah. The start
time.
was better though at least.
But yeah, Jason Zhao this time at least, he's making the top four. He beat Old Boy in the top eight. So that's pretty big. Empire Nazado also made it out of his group, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise, being the first Mexican player at the Hearthstone World Championships. So, still top eight's a pretty good result for him. But yeah, Purple, Surrender, Jason Zhao, and Orange making the top four and are going to be joining everyone else at the World Championships. So the rundown of who we're going to have at the World Championships so far: from the Winter Championships, we have Frozen, Doc Pone, Samuel Sao, and Stanodachi. From the Spring Championships, we have Kalento, Ant, Hoi, and Nyria. And from Summer now, we have Surrender, Hoi, Purple, and Jason Zhao. And one
Not
of the,
Boy. Is it
sorry,
Boy? Orange.
Orange, yeah, sorry. Surrender, Orange, Purple, and Jason Zhao. And then obviously Last Call is generally still to be decided. We know that it's going to be Muzzy and Cintalol, though, from
And
America
Tom.
oh
And we
yeah,
almost
and
know it's
Tom.
guaranteed Tom
Yeah, yeah.
because the they kept on highlighting the fact that he didn't
Yes.
actually need to win this one because he's
Mm.
so far ahead on points in the APAC region.
Yeah, so we know those three are. I'm not really sure what's happening in China, how their last call works, to be honest.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, China have their own system that no one
Yeah,
knows
they
how
have
it
their own
works.
systems usually about these things, so I have
Yeah,
absolutely no idea. But we know there'll at least be two Chinese players at the Hearthstone World Championships, so
yeah.
that's good because it's obviously very important to
Yay.
have all the different regions to have someone for them to support. China's obviously a really big audience for
Yeah.
esports these days, so it is really awesome. And speaking of big audiences for esports, Korea has traditionally been like the major esports audience for a very long
Yeah.
time in a lot of games. So getting one of their representatives surrender at the World Championships and also going in as first seed is really good. Um, he said, for a lot of the players, just making top four is the main goal. But I mean, for him, in his interviews and stuff, he said, he wants to win the event so that he doesn't have to face his teammate Hoy, who won the Spring Championships, because of how the seeding works for the World
Yeah.
Champs. First, the way it'll be seeded in the groups, I imagine, is the first seeds won't be put in the same groups. So I imagine it would be
I'll
like a
probably
one, two,
space them
three, and
out.
four. Yeah, yeah.
I'll probably stagger them like first, second, third, you know.
Yeah, although there's only a one, two, three because they don't have a third, fourth playoff. So those
Oh,
players,
yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how they'll decide. But anyway, the point is he didn't want to face Hoy, and by winning he has avoided that. And that's also the first time we've had any team win back to back. I mean Planet
Yeah.
Odd, new into the Hearthstone scene, basically picked up the old Navi lineup in Surrender, Hoy, and Sixo,
Yeah.
and it's a really strong lineup. They're playing in Trinity Series as well, and now they have two seasonal champs in their lineup, which is really really good for Planet Odd.
Although the classes and I know a lot of guys on Twitter have been giving Poor so quite a hard time because it's like, yeah, so your teammates have made like, world champs. What about you?
Yeah,
And not to the
it's
fact that Sixo is still a really good player and is still arguably one of the better players in the world.
yeah, it's kind of funny because before maybe both these players won the championships, you might have said Sixo was the best player on the team. Now
Yeah.
his achievements don't look as
Yeah.
impressive. But I mean, you can't sort of ignore the fact that he definitely has an influence on these players
Of
in their
course.
preparation and stuff. They are obviously very close. I mean, that's why they've moved always in the same team pretty much. It's the same lineup from Navi to Planet Odd. So obviously they do prepare together, and you can see that's helped them. So. Even though Zixo hasn't had the glory for himself, I'm sure he's pretty happy for his teammates, and their work has definitely been paying off. And
Yeah, that's just the other thing to like, which is really nice. I think as more and more as Hearthstone develops as a competitive esport, the emphasis on the importance of teams and prepping together,
yeah,
and it's actually it's really starting to be because people go, oh, it's an individual game. Why do you need teams? And it just shows, you start seeing all these groups pop up where they're practicing together, and you see it pay off, because they all they work hard in the lineups, they tech it hard, they practice hard, and then
yep.
you see the results.
Yeah, and speaking of it working out for teams, another team had a pretty good weekend this weekend, and that's the new Gamer Sensei team that
Yes.
at DreamHack Denver. They had Ike, who managed to take home the championship for DreamHack, and they also had Rusty, who was in the top eight. They obviously just
He was in the top
signed.
four. He was in the semis.
No, he was in the top
He was in
eight.
the
Oh,
semi-finals.
right, yeah, sorry, he lost to Ike in the semis, yeah.
Yeah.
So he lost to his teammate in the semis. So yeah, he was top four. So that's pretty good for Gamer Sensei, who have only recently picked up these players. I think this is the first tournament they've had these
Yeah.
players playing under their roster. So it's pretty encouraging for organizations like Planet Odd, which is quite a big MGO, and Gamer Sensei I think is more specifically Hearthstone. I think I know they do like
They
Hearthstone
their
coaching
coaching
and stuff.
platform.
Yeah, yeah.
They were more like they do different games, but I think
Okay.
I'm not sure if Hearthstone is like the first,
Yeah.
where they have a team in.
Yeah, they're
Well,
not quite your traditional MGO so much like
yeah.
Planet Odd, where Planet Odd also have like their Dota teams and other games. So yeah, I mean it's really good. I mean I imagine the owners of those organizations are happy with their performance of their players, and it was a really good win for Ike. He's a player that if you tend to watch like Zale's stream and some of those players, you'll know who Ike is without really having seen him play that much. He also performed well at the playoffs for the HCT Summer. I think he was top 8 in in North America or the Americas, just losing out on a spot for the summer championships. And I mean, he said he was really, really like frustrated after the loss. You know, he said, "Oh, he's never going to play Hearthstone again." And then a couple hours later, he was on, a Skype call with his like the play group that he usually plays with, Zale and those kind of guys, and playing Hearthstone again. So you can see like that kind of determination, the wanting to come back, and he actually went 13-0 in
Yeah.
DreamHack Denver, which is really impressive. Undefeated in the Swiss, and then obviously undefeated in the single elimination to take home the title. And he said, after losing in the top 8 of the summer championship playoffs, he really didn't want to lose again. And well, at his next big tournament, he hasn't lost. So we'll
Uh,
see if he can keep that going.
I mean, he beat like if you just look at his route, he beat some really strong players
Yeah,
to get to the final, and even the final, he beat Dr. Jinky.
yeah. Former DreamHack champion from earlier
Yeah,
this year as well.
he was actually the classes were saying, if he won he would be the first player to win 2 dream hacks
In a year.
in a year or something like that.
Because
Yeah,
he's not
there's
the
some
first player to win 2 DreamHacks, I'm
like
pretty
2
sure.
majors or something because they talked this they would mention someone else, but then they were like, no, the one of them wasn't like a proper Grand Prix or something.
Oh,
I
okay. I
can't
think
remember.
Orange has won 2 DreamHacks.
Yeah, but they were saying that one of them wasn't a major
Oh,
or a
okay.
Grand Prix.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, I mean, it would have been a great achievement. Although Dr. Jenkins obviously had a really good year, especially with the Hearthstone World Championships, the Winter Championships
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year as well, when he kind of made his kind of breakout performance there. So he's definitely had a really good year and a very good finish for him as well. It was a very close series, finishing 3-2. Um, so yeah, I mean, DreamHack is just a really good event, and it's great to see more DreamHacks happening in North America as well. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, DreamHack, there's going to be another one, 1st of December, I believe, is DreamHack Winter. So that's coming up relatively soon. Um, I think that's probably one of the next sort of major Hearthstone tournaments. And that's obviously going to be in Sweden, in the sort of birthplace of DreamHack. So that's going to be pretty cool as well. It's great to see like these kind of scenes for Hearthstone, which I think is a really good way for the Hearthstone tournament structure to be run. What are your thoughts on kind of like DreamHack overall? You think
I
it's
like
a good for the future of Hearthstone? I mean, other than just obviously it's nice having more tournaments.
I really like the DreamHack because it's the whole open.
Mm,
It's you don't have to qualify. There's no there's no qualification events or anything. Basically whoever rocks up at the event, it's an open event, can play.
yeah,
They play in a massive open Swiss bracket, I think, and
yeah,
then it's much like a lot of your big Magic tournaments, and then they cut. So what I like about it is it gives that the chance for the little guy who the sort of, let's say, the competitive player or the new player with a dream.
mm,
I mean, no, for a lot of players, this is sort of the perfect place to try and prove yourself
yeah,
as a player. Because I mean, if you can make like even just top 16 and then obviously top 8 or better, you can really, organizations and other players will go look up and go, oh, this guy, he did really well, and all of
yeah,
a sudden you get people's attention.
yeah. Like I mean, this DreamHack we had a lot of well-known names in the top 8 in particular, and I mean Ike maybe not that well known to the larger public, but pretty well known in the scene. Where somebody like Cap9, who made top 8, he's a lot less sort of known, and this can kind of be your breakout performances in a way.
Yeah.
Having these kind of open platforms that don't require you to grind HCT points for months in order to kind of qualify, and they just kind of being open to anyone that signs up. I mean, I think in Europe there's a lot more people that sign up, so you actually have to register beforehand. You can't
Yeah.
usually just pitch up on the day. But yeah, I mean, these kind of events are really, really good, and they're really interesting. They've got everything that everyone from the pros to the more casual players can appreciate. The Swiss, which most pros is kind of the preferred format, and I mean, even something we've seen the HCT switch to this year as well. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
DreamHack, pretty cool tournaments overall, and I'd encourage you to go back and watch the VODs if you haven't already. They
And
were
also,
pretty good games.
it's a chance also, like like you're saying, to actually play against some of these top players.
Mm,
Usually you wouldn't get an opportunity to play them, but you can play, and I mean sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get unlucky in terms of you pair up against one of the pros first
Yeah.
round.
Yeah, depending on what you're, there to do, and unless you're playing lots of the sort of HCT Open Cups or in the high level Legend, that's not something you're gonna encounter most of the time. So, for a lot of players, that can be quite cool to say, oh, I played, Muzzy, DreamHack or something like that. That can be
Exactly.
quite cool for people. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that these kind of big events have to offer, and I hope we get to see a lot more of them, and in particular, I'd love to see some in Africa. That would be really awesome.
Yeah, that's obviously the dream.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's all we really have for this week. Those are two major the esports happenings that have been happening, and obviously we covered all the news of the patch. So yeah, that's all we really have. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, and leave any comments in the comments section to let us know any kind of feedback. Maybe tell us your stories of how your firesides went, and if you got Nemsy, you can brag about it there too. Uh, and maybe tell us what your favorite Nemsy emote is as well. That'd be quite interesting to hear. But yeah, from us, thanks a lot. You can find us on Twitter, and well, you can find Pandemonia on Facebook. I do technically have a Facebook profile, but I never use it. You can find us on Twitter, Pandemonia. You can find at PandemoniaZA. That's with a 3 and a 0, as you can see on the video here. And myself, you can find at dib_gaming on Twitter. You can also tweet at us there to ask us any questions, or just follow us to find out when we're releasing content. Or I'm sure Pandemonia will tweet about the Nexus events as well. So if you're interested in finding out when those events are happening, you can follow him on Twitter there as well. Yeah, so from both of us, thank you and see you next time.
Cheers.